I've got my Royal Courtyard Quilt all loaded onto the long arm. I have my backing, my batting, and my quilt top. So now it's time to pick my pantograph. So first I'm going to open the QTC6 software, and then we're going to go into pantograph. It wants me to select my safe area where the machine is allowed to go. So you just go to the back left, hit top left, and then do the same for the front right. So this is my current safe area. It's not the same as the size of my quilt top. So for that, I need to put in the dimensions, where it's 69 inches wide by 87 inches tall. So that is my quilt. Now we can select a pattern. I'm just going to do a simple edge to edge, and this is the pattern I've already selected. So it imports it. By default, each row is going to be about 4.5 inches tall. I want this quilting really big, so it's not very dense, so I'm going to increase that. So we're at about 9.5 inches tall. That's what it's going to look like. So now I'm going to sew in zones. But now we need to set it. By default, it goes to the upper left corner of the safe zone, but that's not the upper left corner of the quilt. So I'm going to go to the upper left corner of the quilt. So it moved the A placement to where my machine is. Now I'm going to do the same for B, which is the other corner. So now it is placed where it's going to stitch. This is not a full row. The very first row and the very last row are usually not full rows. So this is not as wide as I have it set. Once you have everything in place, we want to pull our bobbin. It'll make a single stitch and then move out of the way. And if you take that thread and pull on it slightly, your bobbin thread is going to come to the surface. So you just want to hold on to those and then hit sew. Now that the first row is complete, the machine's going to walk me through marking so that I can advance the quilt and then have the placement for the next row in the perfect spot. So we're going to click on Finished Zone. So it's brought the needle to make a mark for the next zone. So what I like to do is take a piece of masking tape. You can also use little sticker dots if you have them, and just slide it under the foot. Then we're going to make a single stitch. That's going to pierce the tape, and then we can move on to the next mark. So there's a little hole in the tape here. That's going to be my marking for the next row. And now I'm going to mark the left-hand side. So I'll do a single stitch. Now it tells me we're done. I can click continue. So I've unlocked my bars, and now I can just move it back to where it's about under the foot. It doesn't have to be exact. Relock my bars. All right, I've gone and basted both of the edges down so that nothing gets caught. And now we're going to place our pattern again. So I'm going to hover my needle right above that mark that it made in the tape, and then hit A. So that's going to position my upper left corner, and then do the same for B. So the pattern is now where it needs to be. I'm going to move the machine closer to where its starting point. Then we're going to pull the bobbin. All right, so we pulled the bobbin thread to the top. We're going to hit sew. So that was a total of 10 zones to finish the full quilt, and it was right at 5 hours of stitching time to complete everything. I love how all of the stitching turned out. So now I can trim it and bind it, and it's done.